Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Good day, audience. We hope you're comfortable today. I am Patricia Angelino.
And I am Cherry Marie Johnson.
You're watching the UTV.
Today we'll talk about the urinary system.
People often misunderstand the workings of the human body. The urinary system is no exception.
We hope you gain understanding of an otherwise important yet overlooked aspect of the human body. But how does the urinary system function in our body? Pat will help us to know more about its specific functions. So Pat, tell us.
Thank you, Shari. Most of the work is being done by the kidneys, and you can think of other organs as supporting by acting as a conduit, a means for transporting materials from the kidney. One of its major functions is excretion. Kidneys are the major excretory organs of the body. They remove waste products, many of which are toxic to the blood. The skin, liver, lungs, and intestines eliminate some of these waste products, but they cannot compensate if the kidneys fail to function. They play a major role in controlling the extracellular fluid volume in the body by producing either a large volume of dilute urine or a small volume of concentrated urine. Kidneys also regulate the concentration of solutes in the blood. It regulates the concentration of the major molecules and ions. Kidneys also excrete variable amounts of hydrogen ions to help regulate extracellular fluid pH. Kidneys secrete a hormone, erythropoietin, which regulates the synthesis of red blood cells in the bone marrow. Lastly, the kidneys are responsible for the regulation of vitamin D synthesis. It plays an important role in controlling blood levels of calcium ion by regulating the synthesis of vitamin D. Much for function, what about the structure or the anatomy of the urinary system? We have Chari to guide us. Okay, back to you, Chari.
Thank you, Pat. But where are the kidneys and ureters are located? You may wonder. The kidneys are located in the abdomen cavity where the right kidney is below the liver, and the left kidney below the spleen. The ureters extend from the kidneys to the urinary bladder within the pelvic cavity. An adrenal gland is located at the superior pole at each kidney. Since the ureters are connected to the urinary bladder, Mark Gino Caballero will enlighten us in this subject.
Here we are, near the woman's room. Let's ask some woman some questions. How long you have been here?
Almost an hour.
It is unbearable.
Is it? I can't bear it anymore.
The long line here in woman's room doesn't seem to move an inch. Women are holding it for some time. Their urinary bladder is responsible for this. Urinary bladder is a hollow muscular container that lies in the pelvic cavity just posterior to the pubic symphysis. It stores urine. The urinary bladder can hold from a few milliliters to a maximum of about 1,000 ml of urine. When the urinary bladder reaches a volume, a few hundred ml, it will stretch enough to activate the reflex that causes the smooth muscle of the urinary bladder to contract, and most of the urine flows out the urinary bladder through the urethra. The urethra is a tube that carries urine from the urinary bladder to the outside of the body. The triangle-shaped portion of the urinary bladder located between the opening of the ureters and the opening of the urethra is called the trigone. That's it for the urinary bladder and urethra. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mark. And now to talk about the nephrons, here is Janica Halagi.
As the cells are building blocks of life, the nephrons are the functional unit of the kidney. A nephron consists of a renal corpuscle, a proximal convoluted tubule, a loop of Henle. The distal convoluted tubule empties into a collecting duct. Just the medullary nephrons have loops of Henle that extends deep into the medulla of the kidney, whereas cortical nephrons do not. Collecting ducts merge into larger capillary ducts which empty into the calyx.
1, 2, 3, go.
The nephrons of the kidneys secrete hydrogen into the urine and therefore can directly regulate the pH of the body fluids, decrease increases below normal. The rate at which the distal contributed tubules secrete hydrogen increases, and they reabsorb hydrogen in response to an increasing blood pH. Okay, back to you guys. Thank you, Jenica, for that wonderful report about nephrons.
Here's Ted Canonicato to tell us about arteries and veins.
Good morning. This is Tito Ted reporting for arteries and veins. From the abdominal aorta, blood enters the kidney through the renal arteries. Renal artery give rise to interlobal arteries. Interlobal arteries give rise to arcuate arteries. Arcuate arteries give rise to interlobular arteries. Interlobular arteries give rise to apparent arterioles. Apparent arterioles extend to glomerular capillaries. Glomerular capillaries extend to apparent arterioles. Apparent arterioles extend to peritubular capillary and vasa recta. Blood from the peritubular capillaries and vasa recta leaves the kidney by interlobular veins. Interlobular veins give rise to arcuate veins. Arcuate veins give rise to interlobar veins. Interlobal veins branch off the renal vein, which empties into the inferior vena cava. This is Tito Ted reporting.
A lot of things have been discussed. Still, this is just the start.
Now we'll be back shortly after a few reminders from the Center of Health, Wellness, and Well-being. Welcome back. You're still watching the UTV.
After discussing the anatomy of the urinary system, we move on to the topic of urine formation, brought to you live by our reporters to the field.
The urinary formation process starts with filtration. Filtration in all the nephrons of both kidneys. About 180 liters of filtrate are produced each day, but only about 1% or less filtrate becomes urine because most of the filtrate is reabsorbed. The filtration pressure results from forces that move fluid out of the glomerular capillary into Bowman's capsule. The glomerular capillary pressure is the blood pressure in the glomerular capillary. The movement of fluid into the lumen of Bowman's capsule is the capsular pressure, caused by the pressure of filtrate already inside Bowman's capsule and the colloid osmotic pressure within the glomerular capillary. After filtration, tubular reabsorption is the next step.
That's right, Angelica. It's tubular reabsorption. About 99% of the filtrate volume is reabsorbed. 1% becomes urine. Among the substances reabsorbed are proteins, amino acid, glucose, fructose, sodium ion, potassium ion, calcium ion, bicarbonate, and chlorine ion. About 65% of the filtrate volume is reabsorbed in the descending limb of the loop of Henle, and another 19% is reabsorbed in the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct. After reabsorption, last but not the least, is tubular secretion.
Tubular secretion, hydrogen ions, some byproducts and metabolism, and some drugs are actively secreted into the nephron. That's all. Back to you guys.
Wow, very enlightening. What did you say, partner?
Yes, Pat.
Now we'll go on about the regulation of urine concentration and volume.
Brought to you live by our reporters on the field.
Thanks, guys. Okay. Regulation of urine concentration and volume. The kidneys maintain the concentration of the body fluids by increasing water reabsorption from the filtrate when the body fluid concentration increases, and by reducing water reabsorption from the filtrate when the body fluid concentration decreases.
concentration increases above normal levels, the kidneys produce a small volume of concentrated urine. This eliminates solutes and conserves water, both of which help lower the body fluid concentration back to normal level. On the other hand, if the body fluid concentration decreases, the kidneys produce a large volume of diluted urine. As a result, water is lost, solutes are conserved, and the body fluid concentration increases. Urine production also maintains blood volume and therefore blood pressure, as increase in blood volume can increase blood pressure, and a decrease in blood volume can decrease blood pressure. When blood volume increases above normal, the kidneys produce a large volume of urine. Conversely, if blood volume decreases below normal, the kidneys produce a small volume of urine to conserve water and maintain blood volume. Renin-angiotensin-aldosterone mechanism help regulate aldosterone secretion. Renin is secreted from the kidney when the blood pressure decreases. Renin converts angiotensin-gen to angiotensin-1, which is then converted to angiotensin-2 by angiotensin-converting enzyme. Angiotensin-2 stimulates aldosterone secretion, and aldosterone increases the rate of sodium ion and chlorine ion reabsorption from the nephron. Antidiuretic hormone mechanism. Antidiuretic hormone is secreted from the posterior pituitary when the concentration of blood increases or when blood pressure decreases. Antidiuretic hormone increases the permeability to water of the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct. It increases water absorption by the kidney. Atrial natriuretic hormone mechanism. Atrial natriuretic hormone secreted from the right atrium in response to increases in blood pressure acts on the kidney to increase sodium ion and water loss in the urine. That's all for regulation of urine concentration and volume. Back to you guys.
Besides regulation, there's urine movement, which will be reported by our people on the field.
Now we'll report on the histology and anatomy of the ureters, urethra, and urinary bladder. The ureter. The ureters are a pair of tubes that carry urine from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. Typically, the ureter has a star-shaped lumen and is lined by transitional epithelium. The wall of ureter composed of three layers: mucosa, muscularis, and serosa or adventitia. The ureters have an inner lining of smooth muscle, specifically the muscularis that crosses out peristalsis in order to move urine to the bladder. Here is a picture of a ureter's tissue. Looks like a star-shaped lumen surrounded by transitional epithelium. Urinary bladder. The urinary bladder lies within the pelvic cavity, behind the symphysis pubis, and below the parietal peritoneum. Urine is stored in the bladder until it is excreted. The urinary bladder has three layers of smooth muscle and a transitional epithelium, like the ureters. The mucosa is heavily folded. This helps to accommodate for large volume changes. The transitional epithelium lining can stretch until it looks like a stratified squamous epithelium. The three layers of smooth muscle are collectively called the detrusor muscle. Contraction of this muscle expels urine from the bladder. Urethra. Urine leaves the bladder through the tube-like structure called the urethra. The lining of the urethra is epithelium. The wall of the urethra is smooth muscle. The urethra in females is short. In women, the urethra is exclusively a urinary organ. The lining epithelium of the female urethra is pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium and stratified squamous epithelium. The urethra in males is longer compared to females. The male urethra has both urinary and reproductive functions, that is, as a conduit for urine and semen. The male urethra is divided into three sections: prostatic urethra, membranous urethra, and spongy urethra. In here, I have a picture of a female urethra and male urethra. The male urethra is longer compared to the female urethra.
Reflex is activated by stretch of the urinary bladder wall. As the urinary bladder fills with urine, pressure increases, stimulating stretch receptors in the wall of the urinary bladder. The internal urinary sphincter is normally contracted as a result of stimulation from the somatic motor nervous system. The maturation reflex is an automatic reflex, but it can be stimulated or inhibited by higher centers in the brain. The higher brain center prevents maturation by sending action potentials through the spinal cord to decrease the intensity of the autonomic reflex that stimulates urinary bladder contractions and to stimulate nerve fibers that keep the external urinary sphincter contracted. When a person feels the urge to urinate, the higher brain centers alter action potentials sent to the spinal cord to facilitate the maturation reflex. To know about kidney stones, here is Angelica. Angelica?
Kidney stone is a solid mass made up of tiny crystals. One, one or more stones can be in the kidney or ureter at the same time. Causes of kidney stone. Kidney stones are common. Some types run in families. They often occur in immature infants. There are different types of kidney stones. Calcium stones are most common. The symptoms: pain may be felt in the belly area or side of the back. Pain may move to throat area or testicles. Treatment depends on the type of stone and severity of your symptoms. Drink at least 6 to 8 glasses of water per day to produce a large amount of urine. Medications can include alpurinol, antibiotics. That's all for my special report.
What a moving topic. Don't you agree, partner?
Of course.
Next is the body fluid compartment, brought to you live by our reporters on the field.
This is Charmaine, and we will talk about the composition of fluid in body fluid compartment. The cellular fluid has high concentration of ions such as potassium, magnesium, phosphate, and sulfate. It has lower concentration of sodium, calcium, chlorine, and bicarbonate ions. Concentration of proteins in intracellular fluid is also greater than in extracellular fluid. Like intracellular fluid, the extracellular fluid has fairly consistent composition from one area of the body to another. Composition is one thing, but how are they exchanged? We have Ted for that.
This is Tito Ted reporting about body fluid compartment. Body fluid compartments are separated by selectively permeable cell membranes, so water moves between them through osmosis. Water movement is regulated mainly by hydrostatic pressure differences and osmotic differences. Water movement is regulated mainly by hydrostatic pressure differences and osmotic differences. When the concentration of ions in the extracellular fluid decreases, water moves from the extracellular fluid to the intracellular fluid. For an individual to survive, movement of water between intracellular fluid and extracellular fluid is maintained within limits. This is Tito Ted reporting.
Water intake is controlled by neurons in the hypothalamus, collectively called the thirst center. Increased blood concentrations affect hypothalamic neurons and large decreases in blood pressure affects baroreceptors in the aortic arc, carotid sinuses, and atrium. These stimuli cause an increase in thirst, which increases water intake. Increased water intake reduces blood concentration and increased blood volume. When water or another dilute solution is consumed, the concentration of blood increases, the sensation of thirst decreases. Similarly, when blood pressure decreases, as occurred during shock, the thirst center is activated. The sensation of thirst is triggered. Consumption of water increases the blood volume and allows the blood pressure to increase towards its normal value. Other stimuli can also trigger the sensation of thirst. For example, if the mucosa of the mouth becomes dry, the thirst center is activated. This is one of the important means of regulating extracellular fluid, volume, and concentration. That's all for first regulation. Back to you guys.
Concentration regulation. Sodium ions are the dominant extracellular ions. Aldosterone increases sodium ion reabsorption from the filtrate. Antidiuretic hormones increases water reabsorption from the nephron. And the atrial natriuretic hormones increases sodium ions lost in the urine. Aldosterone increases potassium ions secretion in the urine. Increased blood levels of potassium ions stimulate, and decreased blood levels of potassium ions inhibit aldosterone secretion. Parathyroid hormone secreted from the parathyroid glands increases extracellular calcium ion levels by causing bone resorption and increased calcium ion uptake in the kidney. Parathyroid hormone increases vitamin D synthesis. Calcitonin, secreted by the thyroid gland, inhibits bone resorption and lowers blood calcium ion levels when they are too high. Phosphate ions and sulfate ion levels in the filtrate are low. Nearly all phosphate ions and sulfate ions are reabsorbed. When levels are high, excess is lost in the urine. And that's all for the ion concentration and regulation. Back to you guys.
Buffers. Buffers is one of the three factors that control the pH of the body fluids. Buffers are chemicals that resist a change in the pH of a solution when either acids or bases are added to the solution. The buffers in the body fluids contain salts of either weak acids or weak bases that combine with hydrogen ions when hydrogen ions increases in those fluids, or release hydrogen ions when hydrogen decreases in those fluids. Buffers tend to keep the hydrogen ions concentration and thus the pH within a narrow range of values because of these characteristics. The three major buffers in the body fluids are the proteins, the phosphate buffer system, and the carbonate buffer system. Proteins are able to function as buffers because their amino acids have side chains that function as weak acids and weak bases. Many side chains contain carboxyl groups or amine groups because both of these groups are able to function as buffers. The bicarbonate buffer system is unable to combine with as many hydrogen ions as protein and phosphate buffers, but the bicarbonate buffer system is critical because it can be regulated by the respiratory and urinary systems.
We'll now touch upon the subject of acid-base balance regulation.
Our reporters will guide us on the subject.
Regulation of acid-base balance in respiratory system. The respiratory system rapidly regulates pH. An increased respiratory rate raises the pH because the rate of carbon dioxide elimination is increased, and the reduce of respiratory rate reduces the pH because the rate of carbon dioxide elimination is reduced.
Failure of the buffer system, respiratory system, and the urinary system to maintain normal pH level can result to acidosis or alkalosis. Acidosis occur when blood pH falls below 7.35. The central nervous system malfunctions and the individual becomes disoriented, and as the condition worsens, may become comatose. There are two categories of acidosis. First is respiratory acidosis. It results when the respiratory system is unable to eliminate adequate amount of carbon dioxide, which causes the pH of the body fluid to decline. The second one is the metabolic acidosis. It results from excess production of acidic substances such as lactic acid and ketone bodies. Alkalosis occur when blood pH increases above 7.45. Its major effect is hyperexcitability of nervous system. Spasm and tetanic contraction result, as can extreme nervousness or convulsion. Tetany of the respiratory muscle can cause death. There are two categories of alkalosis, and they are respiratory alkalosis, which result from hyperventilation in response to stress, and metabolic alkalosis, which usually result from rapid elimination of hydrogen ion from the body, as occur during severe vomiting or when excess aldosterone is secreted by the adrenal cortex. That's all about acidosis and alkalosis. Back to you guys.
There's an old saying I've heard.
What is it?
No matter how tough our bodies are, they're not as tough against dreaded diseases and disorders.
Our reporters from the hospitals will tell us.
Today, we have a special guest, or should I say, a special doctor, who will bring us to speed on some health concerns and issues. Let us welcome Dr. Blansha.
Thank you for being here, Doc. So, tell us what this book.
Thank you too. Today's important talk will revolve around kidney problems. Common of some problems are renal failure and glomerulonephritis.
Okay, let's start with renal failure.
Okay, renal failure means that your kidney have suddenly stopped working. Your kidneys remove waste products and help balance water and salt and other minerals in your blood. When your kidneys stop working, waste products, fluid, and electrolytes build up in your body. This can cause problems that can be deadly.
Sounds quite severe. Are there any observable symptoms for this?
Symptoms of kidney failure are due to the build-up of waste products in the body that may cause weakness, shortness of breath, lethargy, and confusion. Inability to remove potassium from the bloodstream may lead to abnormal heart rhythms and sudden death. Initially, there may be no symptoms of kidney failure.
The question then is, could it be treated?
Treatment of the underlying cause of kidney failure may return kidney function in normal. Lifelong efforts to control blood pressure and diabetes may be the best way to prevent chronic kidney disease and its progression to kidney failure. Usually, kidney function gradually decreases over time. If the kidney fails completely, the only treatment option available may be dialysis or transplant.
Well, that's one problem solved now. Another kidney-related problem is glomerulonephritis.
Yes, glomerulonephritis is inflammation of the tiny filters in your kidney. Other terms you may hear used are nephrin and nephrotic syndrome. When the kidney is injured, it cannot get rid of waste and extra fluid in the body. If the illness continues, the kidney may stop working completely, resulting in kidney failure.
What symptoms of this disease can be observed?
Blood in the urine, usually dark, rust-colored or brown. Swelling of the face, eyes, ankles, feet, legs, or abdomen.
Okay, Doc, it sounds fatal.
That is, if treatment is provided earlier. Treatment depends on the cause of disorder and the type and severity of symptoms. Controlling high blood pressure is usually the most important part of treatment. You may need to limit salt, fluids, proteins, and other substances.
Yes, no more trips to the fast food then.
I couldn't agree more.
Thank you, Doc, for the invaluable nuggets of knowledge imparted on us.
That's it for today, viewers. Until next time.
With the information you gained, hopefully you have a better appreciation of the urinary system.
It's not really complicated, actually. It's easy to see how simple the urinary system is.
Thank you all for tuning in on this channel. This is Patricia
And Shari,
signing off. Until next time, here on UTV.